what exactly is intuition when we say intuition?
Intuition is really just connecting to our larger self. That's really all it is. It's not that some people are intuitive or some people aren't, or that some people have that capability where others don't. It is what we are. It is just that some people have unlocked that, part of that larger part of themselves, or that kind of more feminine part of themselves, whereas others just haven't developed that part yet. It's not that it's unavailable for anybody. It is who we are. It's like basically when we dip down out of our head and open up our heart, that opens up this kind of ability, or it's like a doorway almost into what we might call like the unified field, this field of consciousness that connects all of us, this one field from which we are all emanating from and we're all a part of. When we're up in our head, we feel separate from that. We perceive ourselves as separate from that, and we look at life like an outsider. But when we come down and settle into our heart space, we start to feel part of things. As we think of things, we start to resonate with them and tune into them. And it's that tuning in from our heart that causes us to receive information, because the heart, well, our bodies in general, but especially the heart, has an electromagnetic aura. And electromagnetic currents carry information. They send and receive signals. So when we've opened up into our heart energy, we can consciously do that. Like, we're doing it anyway. Like, we're all receiving impressions from each other right now. And you know what it's like when somebody walks into a room and you're like, oh God, or if somebody walks into the room, you're like, oh wow, I just want to be around that person, because my energetic field is connecting in with theirs, and we're receiving this stuff, and it's coming to us in a kind of a subconscious kind of a way. But when we open our heart, we can enter that reality consciously, and we can start to receive what we want to receive, or whatever we're focusing in on basically at the time. Did that answer your question? What is intuition? It is, it is. So it's the ability to connect to that larger field of energy that really is just an extension of us, because we don't end where this body ends. We have a non-physical counterpart that goes on and on and on and connects with absolutely everything. So intuition is the process of connecting to that larger entity, not confining it to the personality and the physical being.
And then the way that we do that is our heart connects to that wider universal kind of consciousness. So and that is, well, what would this is going to be a very deep question then, so what would you say our purpose is in this kind of life, if we need to connect to this universal kind of field?
Well, I mean, in a very broad sense, our purpose here is to evolve. It's to evolve to the next level of consciousness, which funnily enough is the fourth ray, the heart energy. And this is where humanity is sitting right now. We're in the crux of solar plexus, very ego-centered, me living. And we're making that shift up to the heart to understand that we are actually unified. We are one thing. We're not all these separate beings. I know it looks like that, but it's opening up this higher perception of reality and living in that. So we are here to awaken, really, and to keep remembering who we really are. And we're all doing that in completely unique ways. None of the ways are right or wrong or bad or good, or it's just all completely a one big act of creativity, the whole thing. But in general, as a general rule, we are evolving as a species, just like we have done, just like everything evolves, we are on that journey. And
cool. Okay. And then, so you mentioned the head and the heart, and the head, we're so disconnected. So what does the head sound like if the head is kind of making a decision?
So in the head, there's a lot of fear. And this is a point that I was listening to when you were talking, Tini, that, you know, fear really kills intuition. You know, it kills it because it cuts you off from your heart space. Because if you notice when you're feeling in your heart and you're feeling generous and you're feeling loving and you know, you're feeling fun and all that, it's kind of this open feeling. But when you get scared, it's almost like you zip all that up and you just come up here and you just, it's almost like you're starting to make believe, like you're paranoid that that's going to happen. You're worried about this from the past and this from the future. You know, you kind of become out of touch with reality in a sense when we only live up here in our heads. It's like playing a game of chess. Oh, if I make that move, that will mean that, and that will mean that, and that will mean that. Whereas if we're acting from the heart, we don't need to make those, we don't need to do that. We just think, well, this feels really right. And this is what I want to do. And it feels really good. And I trust it's all going to be taken care of because I know I'm part of a wider network. I know there's this larger reality of which I'm absolutely connected to, and I can't actually get hurt anyway because my essence is eternal. So I'm going to act out of a place of feeling really safe within myself and loving towards all beings. And then, you know, when you make a decision from that place, my God, you know, it's way more powerful than the energy coming from the head and all of the bullshit that the head is going to feed. But ultimately they do work together, you know, and when you open up your heart, it opens up a higher brain function. So it actually opens up a higher intellect, higher ability to focus, and increases, you know, and opens up these centers, the throat, the third eye, and the crown. So opening the heart opens up all these higher capacities that we have lying dormant. When we're in that contracted energy of fearfulness, we almost put a wall around ourselves to any kind of higher guidance that might want to come in. We separate ourselves off from being able to accept that. But when we open our heart and relax and feel safe, it's all there. It never went. It's just that we put a layer over top of being able to feel it and access it for a time. So physiologically, when you breathe deeply, that's telling your body it's okay. We're okay. We're good. It's all right. And then your heart rhythms start to, you know, become more rhythmic rather than really erratic. And that's really important because that sends all these messages around your body to all your organs to, you know, come out of fight or flight mode and stop producing adrenaline and to start producing other feel-good things. So deep breathing is super important. It's so easy too, and just so simple, like just take some really, really deep breaths, and that will sink you into the moment. It will sink you into yourself. It will start to slow everything down and start to relax you. Because in order to open your heart, you have to have a sense of safety.
Yeah, right.
Really, don't you? Because if you're in that fearful state, you know, you're not going to you're not going to be able to access anything. So I guess as a very easy pointer, the first thing is take some really deep breaths and get yourself centered. And a really easy way, the most simple way to do that is to start to just look around you and look at what you appreciate about this moment. You know, what I really appreciate that book that I'm looking at right now. That book taught me so much. I love that. I love that photo of my daughter. Looking around, no matter where you are, you can look around, you can find things to appreciate. Or thinking about some stuff you're grateful for, or thinking about some little miracles that have happened in your life. They can be simple, like doesn't have to be I just won the lottery or just bought a house or just got a new boyfriend or whatever. It's like the smaller and smaller things that you can have grateful for, the greater your capacity to feel happy. And it's like something we've got a muscle that we need to actually strengthen within ourselves, because living in this society has taught us the opposite. It's taught us you can't be happy unless you look good, you got a big bank account and a hot boyfriend, for example. But as you know, Tini, right? It's a load of shit.
It is a load of shit.
To be happy, you just got to be happy. You've actually got to train yourself, train your mind to be happy in the moment, to look for things that make you happy in the moment. And this is the perfect way to open up that hard energy, is to look around you and have gratitude. And then you start sitting there buzzing, like your whole vibration lifts, and you start to have ideas and start to move it, things come to you that you could never have thought of. It's so easy, but such a big shift in your vibration. It's amazing.
So yeses and nos, do they feel different? Do they live in a different place in your body? Is there a way that we know what a true yes from our intuition is, or a no?
I go by the feeling of expansion or contraction.
Okay.
Does it feel like expanded, like your heart's opening and you're like, yes? Or does it feel like, it's making you want to close in around yourself? And and I think a really good way when you need to make an important decision is to do some deep breathing, or if you do meditation, then use whatever meditation you use to get yourself nice and centered. Open your heart through using a gratitude and stuff. Sit in that open-hearted space and ask then. Shift your state before you ask, and you'll get a much clearer, saner energy. Because quite often decisions we make like from fear are again that chessboard reality. If I do that, what will they think of me? That person won't like me anymore. But if I do that, blah, 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 blah. And we're trying to analyze and kind of suss it all out beforehand, because we want to be sure that it's the right thing beforehand. But using your intuition is jumping off a cliff every time. You don't know, but you're going for it because it feels right. And that's all we need to know. It's really like having a deeper trust in the larger workings of the universe, and knowing that you are part of that. And whereas working from the mind is that cut off reality where you feel like you need to control everything. And just knowing that things feel right, if you take aside all of what everybody's going to think of you, because quite often we do things out of attachment. I don't want to lose that. How much money am I going to make? What are they going to think of me? If you can find a space where you can just remove yourself from all of that and imagine that you're totally free, you've got all the resources you could ever possibly need, you're eternally safe, nothing bad could happen to you ever. If you can bring yourself into a reality of total safety, like absolute abundance is guaranteed, what decision would you make? And kind of free yourself from all of these fearful pulls that, it doesn't really matter, because you're going to get there in the end. It's just a matter of, when. But if you want to catalyze, it's quite helpful to get into a really clear, unattached, detached kind of state, and really open your heart, and then start making decisions where, really trusting yourself and your happiness and what feels right for you, because then everybody else will line up around you according to that. If you're making decisions because you don't want to hurt someone's feelings, or you should say yes to that when you really want to say no, what you're really doing is sending out this very kind of skewy message to the universe, this very skewy vibration, because it's not in alignment with what you truly feel. And so you're going to start attracting things that aren't in alignment with you. But if you come into alignment with yourself and are like, this feels so freaking good to me, I don't really care what anybody thinks, because I've got to step into this because it feels so amazing. You're going to line up with all the people that support you in that. So we are really creating our reality by doing these kinds of things. The thing is, for me, it's self-realization. That's what I'm really into. It's like, well, who the fuck am I really? What am I? It's almost like the elephant in the room that we don't, we're going about our daily lives, we're saying hi to people, we're buying this, we're buying that, we're like going out for dinner and blah, blah, blah. But what are we doing here? Like, what am I? Where the fuck did I come from? And what's this body all about? And like, how am I supposed to operate it? Why weren't we taught all that stuff? Why weren't we taught about our intuition? Why weren't we taught like what we really are? All we've got is this thing called science, which studies the physical stuff, but most of you probably feel and kind of know there's more than that. and that's how I felt. It was like this knowing. It's like, oh, I just know something's going on that I haven't quite realized yet. And so I've really gone down the self-realization path of really wanting to really clearly get, what am I? And so I sit in meditation and really ask myself that, and really tune into, who am I really? What am I? And it just comes back to God, if you want to use that word. So, and away from this personal identity, the ego. So that's a practice that I do, is really tuning into what is it that's animating this personality? What is it that's bringing these words to come out of my mouth? What is it that grows the babies into people, the seeds into trees, that creates the ecosystems and the oceans and the blah, 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 blah? What is that creative energy? What is this oneness that, binds us? Or what is that? That's what I meditate on, and I feel it in myself, and I connect with it, and it's beyond blissful. It's so beautiful. And from that space, things become super clear, and I guess that's a practice that I do. So yeah, the suffering we experience on this planet is our evolutionary process. That's how we evolve, because we hate it so much that we have to wake up. We have to do something. Like Tineke was saying, she was like, fuck this anxiety. I need to do something about this because it's driving me bloody crazy. And we all get in those situations in our lives where we just don't know the solution. It's almost like we've hit a wall, and we have to change to do something about it. But also the beautiful thing about that, knowing you're not the body or the mind, and even that I'm not my belief system, that's a big one, because we often identify with, well, I believe this and I believe that. But when we know we're even not that for me was massive to learn.
Rhiannon said her brain was trying to analyze everything, and she found it tricky to stay in her heart space.
Yeah. And I think that when the brain is doing that, and that's quite common, of course, for that to happen, the thing is just to not get bothered about it, like, because that's normal. If you can just tell yourself, oh yeah, there it goes, and that's fine. I'm just going to come back to my heart. And the more you do that, will become easier. The kind of thing not to do is to get annoyed with yourself, because as soon as you get annoyed with yourself, you cut off your connection to your heart. You get into you get into other spaces which aren't really that. So it's just time and practice and focus. But it's just that self-awareness of going, oh, there's my mind again. Okay. And you can even put it in a bubble. Yeah, not judging yourself. Exactly. That's exactly it. Just knowing this is absolutely what the brain does. It's not even personal. It's not personal to you. It's what happens to everybody. And when a thought comes, you can kind of even put it in a bubble. It's quite a cool thing that I sometimes do. If I have sometimes a tragic thought will pop into my head, like I think, oh, imagine one of my family members getting killed in a car accident or something. And I'm like, oh God, where did that come from? And I put it in a bubble it and get rid of it as quickly as possible. And that's what you can do when your mind starts, giving you all the crap in meditation. It's like, no, this is my space. I'll put you, thank you, off you go. And you can what's even cooler is if you can send it love. That keeps you in your heart. Yeah. That keeps you in your heart and strengthens your heart connection, even when you do that. So yeah, there are a few tricks, and it's just having that patience with yourself to overcome those obstacles, those hurdles, because it's worth it. It's so worth the practice and the patience and being with yourself in that, because what you're going to get from that is just going to, it's life-changing. It really is, as Teeny knows. I have a Patreon platform, which I produce weekly podcasts and meditations. I've just been doing a series on the heart, funnily enough, and activating our heart center and all of the freaking amazing superpowers we can develop as we open up this energy center, and there's lots of meditations in there that support you to do it. And basically it's we can send you some information if you want to have a nosy, but yeah, it's got a whole lot of resources in there for all of this stuff. It's jam-packed. So I guess that's probably the best place. I run a lot of stuff online.